Okay. So, hi everyone. This is the Community Board 11's Housing Committee meeting. It is um, May 6th. May 6th, and the meeting has started now at 6:34. My name is Hazel Mura. I am the chair of the committee, and we're very fortunate to have some guest speakers that are going to be talking about the COVID-19 Community Protection Act. I'm not sure who's going to go first, but whenever you guys are ready, you can just jump right in.
Thank you so much, Hazel. Let me just start off and say thank you, Hazel, and the Bronx CB11 Housing Committee for inviting us on this very important topic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to start off with introduction. My name is Albert Scott with the Coalition for Community Advancement, as well as a part of the Homeowners Association out here in Brooklyn, East New York, and president of the East New York Community Land Trust. And I would like to just simply pass the mic on to Jessica Franco.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Franco. Again, thank you so much for inviting us and reaching out and wanting to know more about our effort in protecting community residents, right? Both homeowners and tenants. I am a member of the Coalition for Community Advancement, and I am also the president of the Civic Association of Cypress Hills. And I would like to pass it on to Alexa.
Hi, good evening, Bronx. So happy to be here. My name is Alexa. I am an organizer with the Coalition for Community Advancement, Progress for East New York, Cypress Hills. We are a coalition here in East New York that's made up of local tenants, homeowners, community-based organizations, and houses of worship that fight for affordable housing, real affordable housing for the people of East New York, and for new and good jobs for the people of East New York. We are a predominantly Black and Latino community, and most of our housing, both through homeowners and tenants, is through small homes. And so we're really looking forward to connecting with you all because a lot of what we're dealing with here in East New York regards to speculation and flipping is happening in your community as well. So I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us. And I'm going to pass it over to Katie. And I'll just say, unfortunately, Lorinda Hook, who is joining us from East Elmhurst Civic Association, unfortunately cannot make it tonight. She had an unexpected family emergency, so she will not be able to be on tonight. But we are looking to connecting with you all in the future. I'm going to pass it over to Katie.
Hello, my name is Katie LaSalle. I'm a community organizer in Brooklyn. I have been supporting the community advancement and this bill by doing some data mining and research to demonstrate where house flipping is happening in New York City. So I'll be talking about that later. And thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to work on this bill, which is so important.
Thank you so much, Katie. But again, the topic that we are going to discuss, a most pressing legislation that needs to pass, that will allow and help protect, stabilize, as well as provide some form of equity within our communities. And this strong piece of legislation is known as the COVID-19 Community Protection Act. We'll be going in definitely more details of that. And this act was actually introduced by New York State Senator Julia Salazar and Assembly Member Catalina Cruz on that end. And at the end, the key ask is the reason why I'm so excited to be here, Hazel, is that we definitely want to build with the Bronx, and we definitely would like for everyone to definitely in the Bronx to join us in a citywide coalition fight against speculation and the extraction of wealth in communities of color. This is real, and this is happening now, and it was happening even during before COVID, and sadly to say, the extraction of wealth or the theft of wealth in communities of color was even happening during the height of COVID. And that's why this legislation is so very, very much important. And then, like with all communities, the protection out here in East New York, a strong, large amount of homeowners are either seniors or individuals approaching retirement, and they need protection along those lines. And what is happening, speculation and the house flipping, in which we'll go into a little bit more details, is ravishing communities of color. It's encouraging nefarious behaviors currently, and it's our hope that this particular legislation will help modify behaviors in which everything will become much clearer during the presentation. But the protection is definitely key in our communities, and we're all connected. And I'm going to pass it on to Jessica Franco. You're on mute, Jessica.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a year into the pandemic, and it's still hard to be mindful of the mute button. Anyhow, one of the patterns that we have seen is that it's just becoming harder for homeowners to be able to compete at a very at a reasonable rate in the current real estate market. We see that 3/4 of the purchases for what is considered affordable homes are being purchased by LLCs, corporations, who then just turn the properties around and flip them. So of all the available, and this is not speaking about all of the available stock, what I am trying to reference to is the affordable housing, the affordable homes out there. Out of all the affordable homes, at the very least 3/4, meaning 75% of the homes are being purchased by developers who then turn around and flip the homes. And so that leaves a very small stock for homeowners, for first-time home buyers. And obviously, we know that the communities that get impacted the most are communities of color, right? So not only are corporations and LLCs, investors flipping our homes, but they're also making it so much harder for first-time home buyers to have the ability to purchase, or better yet, they're making it so much harder for renters of color to have the opportunity to become first-time home buyers. And so equity is a major component of this bill. And what we want to do is really to stabilize the real estate markets and be able to give an opportunity and an upper hand to those who we know are struggling the most. And what we really value in this bill is that it's not about homeowners alone. It's actually about a community. It's about a holistic community, right? Because we know that if we protect first-time homeowners, we know if we protect small homeowners, then we are protecting tenants as well. And we also know that small homeowners are actually the ones who truly provide affordable housing, and they actually hold the most affordable housing stock for tenants. And so in pushing this bill and in passing this bill, we are also protecting tenants as well. Alexa, can you speak a little bit? Oh, go ahead, Al. Thank you.
No. Thank you, Jessica. And then just to explain to all of our comrades in the Bronx, Community Board 11, Hazel, and whoever is going to be listening to this message, the sole purpose of the COVID-19 Community Protection Act is look to protect, to try to have some sort of balance to increase equity, or at least give us a fighting chance to maintain equity in our communities, as well as to stabilize it. Those are the denominators as far as the purpose of this specific bill. And we are so passionate and excited about this specific legislative tool, just to give our communities a fighting chance. Because the way everything is now is that the reason why we're in this current state is based off legislation or the lack of legislation to address necessary behaviors. And just to jump in, the sole purpose of the COVID-19 Protection Act, as illustrated there, to the audience, to the current audience and the future audience, check out this bill. The Senate bill number is S5376, and the Assembly bill number is A6574. And this bill looks to address and to try to combat the speculative forces, speculation. It looks to tax the flippers. As Jessica had mentioned earlier, what we're seeing is the high intensity of flipping. Quite frankly, what that simply is two things that is currently happening. On one end, you see that the flipping is taking place, but normally it usually is in a home ownership buyer's market is homeowners to another family. But what we're seeing now is a homeowner, LLC, or a real estate firm, they get it and then add a little simple cosmetics to the building, and then increase the pricing to the family. And the impact that it has is tremendous. On one end, you're pricing out potential working class families to obtain a home. But then, as we know, in communities such as East New York, where majority of homeowners are seniors or folks approaching retirement, they are at a fixed income level. And by these sudden increases in housing stock, as Jessica mentioned, there is now, for example, a financial shock. So now financial shock occurs in the property taxes. And then these are the affordable home stock. And then majority of these are two-family homes. So you have the residents, the tenants that live above us that actually feel some of that burden as well. So what we're saying here, give us this tool, let our communities catch its breath. These rapid increases is truly destabilizing. As a result, we have a fighting chance to remain in our community. And just to highlight what Alexa, just what you see here on the first spreadsheet is, if you can just go back on the first slide, Alexa. This bill is, all right, move up.
Are you talking about the supporters?
No.
The first prong.
Exactly. Yep. Thank you. Stay right there. With the flipping, quite simply, it established a 65% tax on a home flipper's profit margin for homes bought and resold within a year. And the reason why we have that high increase as far as the tax rate on that profit margin is we're looking to modify behavior to deter the flipping and the speculation in our communities along those lines. The second portion of this, what we begin to realize as well, is that we're starting to see the barriers of entry to home ownership. So this is, we're looking to more or less exempt or get rid of the mortgage recording tax for homes sold below $750,000, because this will provide additional savings for when it comes time to purchase the home. A prime example, I just want to point out here on this slide, the mortgage recording tax. For example, the number of home buyers that would benefit based on the 2019 data in the Bronx, it will benefit it would have benefited 2,448 individuals or families, and in Brooklyn, 3,552, and in Queens, 6,564. And if we go to the next slide, this is what the mortgage recording tax is. Just simply adding information to a database, and they charge these amounts. And as you can see here, the highest amount paid out are by Black and Latinx communities. Approximately 8,244 in Black communities, and approximately an average of 7,121. I don't know about anyone else. I'm sure there are hardworking families could say I could have better use out of $8,000 and $7,000 that can go towards equity payments or to other emergency funds or things of that nature. So that's definitely important. And then the other prong in reference to this dynamic legislation, we realize that, hold on, since we're taking away this mortgage recording tax, why not just simply the state could then say, but we don't have we're losing revenue. No, but by implementing a 1% tax on home purchases above $1 million will help balance that out. So that eliminates the state's argument from stating that they're losing revenue along those lines. So these are just more or less the three major components of this legislation. And this is what we identify out here in East New York, Brooklyn, an example of legislation our communities can actually feel. A legislative tool to help fight back the speculation, the flipping, these nefarious behaviors that encourage predators to try to take over or steal deeds. By having this specific tool, giving us a fighting chance to maintain generational wealth, to stabilize, and as Jessica mentioned, help build up equity in our communities. And she also mentioned that the most affordable units are usually the owner occupied homes anyway, because we think about the folks we rent on in a two family as family anyway, because we're living there as well. And those rents are usually the true affordability of our community, and it helps stabilize. So we're just reaching out to, this is a citywide movement coordination effort, and we definitely would like the residents of the Bronx to definitely help us champion this legislative tool, to join this citywide movement, to give yourselves a fighting chance to remain in your community. This bill will help stabilize not only small homeowners, but also tenants as well. So I definitely want to say that. And then I would transfer it over to Katie, in which you will see what we're fighting against. Katie?
Okay, before we move on, can I have everybody just sign into the chat so that I can use that as a sign-in sheet? If you don't mind doing that for me,
Okay.
thank you.
Hazel, it's Kay Cardona. How are you?
Can I share my screen? Okay. Great. Hello again. For those who just joined, I'm Katie LaSalle. I'm a community organizer in Brooklyn. I've been supporting the coalition by mining some data around where flips are happening in New York City, and we are working on getting data for the whole city. It's going to be a pretty lengthy process, so we don't have that yet. But in the meantime, what I did want to share with you guys were some flips that we've found. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Some really really intense flips that we've found. So I want to just remind folks of something that I think Al said earlier, which is that, or maybe it was Jessica, that most flipping is taking affordable housing and turning it into unaffordable housing. So that's not necessarily represented here, but I did want to show these flips to you all because I think they really demonstrate the extent to which communities are really being robbed, right? Their money is being extracted from communities, mostly Black and Latino working class communities that have painstakingly built up this wealth over generations, and flippers are coming in and they're just extracting that wealth. So for example, this one's in Mill Basin in Brooklyn. This flipper made $1 million off the flip. Here we've got one, oops, sorry. here we've got one, Jamaica Queens, right? 1.14 million. We've got another one, Bushwick for 1.16 million. And I want to point out that these are all LLCs. So just like Al said, it's really difficult to for families and individuals to compete with LLCs, with international investors that are able to just snatch these properties up really quickly. Here we've got one in Prospect Lefferts Garden for 1.42 million. Yeah, 1.5 million in Long Island City, Queens. And this one, which I think is particularly amazing, this flipper made nearly $1.5 million in just 8 months' time. So as someone was saying earlier, you know, there's no way that house flippers are putting this much money into a home in this amount of time. And I actually pulled out a couple other flips where they just made an enormous amount of money in a brief amount of time, right? So $500,000 in 6 months, also in Jamaica, Queens. Here's another nearly almost $500,000 in 5 months' time. Right? There's no way that they are investing $500,000 that quickly. Here's a really incredible one, $250,000 in 1 month. And then this is the crown jewel, $695,000 in 1 month's time. So we crunched some of these numbers for the first 6 flips that I showed you, $7.7 million just in 6 flips, and hundreds and hundreds of flips are happening across the city every year. Again, predominantly in Black and Latino working middle class neighborhoods. So if this is just 6 flips worth of wealth that's extracted, you can imagine how much wealth is extracted across hundreds of flips. And then for the last 4 I showed you, the average month was nearly $300,000 per month that a flipper is making off these homes. So that's just a brief snapshot of what communities are facing. And this bill is really, really seeking to stop that wealth extraction and to give homeowners, you know, a leg up in this incredibly competitive process in which they're competing with, you know, international investors whose firms have billions of dollars, some of them greater than the GDPs of small countries. That's who, you know, the homeowners of Bronx and Brooklyn and Queens are competing with. And I'm happy to share out the full data set when I have it. And also, if anyone would like the slides I just shared, I'm happy to email those out, and I will put my email in the chat. Thanks so much. And sorry, Alexa, are you speaking next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Katie.
I have a question though. Sorry, Alexa. Do you know where in the Bronx this is happening the most?
Great question. So we're working, like I said, we're working right now on getting data for every district. And what we do have is the 2014 to 2018 data. And I can tell you, let me pull that up unless somebody has that open right now, Al or Alexa. But some of the top districts were Carl Heastie's district. You know what? Let me pull up the actual data from 2014 to 2018, and I'll put it into chat. The top,
Northeast Bronx. So like part of CB11 where you all are, and then just a little visual is where a lot of this flipping is happening.
Right, Carl is mostly in Community Board 12. So there's really no organization up there. I mean, they do have the Community Board. I don't know how active they've been during COVID, but we have done work in that community because it borders our community. And we did have at one time some money from HPD to actually go in and do some organizing there. But I don't have a problem actually going and contacting the community board and seeing if they want to, step in, because they probably don't even know this is going on. So I'll be more than happy to take on Community Board 12 and just put the information out there. But if you can get me whatever stats you could get your hands on, that would be great, because at least I'd have something to fight with.
That would be great, Hazel.
That would be great, and we definitely will partner you and support you in any way that we can along those lines. Thank you.
Hazel, I have a question. How many of these houses were vacant because of the 2009 depression? Because that's what happened up in Richmond.
Yeah, I saw your question, Robert, also in the chat. They were not, most of these homes were not vacant. So Katie's been doing a lot of the data mining. So she has been using a data site that's called the Displacement Alert Project. And they use information from ACRIS, so we can tell from city documents who was living in the house before. But Katie, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, there's certainly. Oh, I'm sorry. I think. Can you guys?
There's a little bit of like an echo.
Okay. I think it's okay now. Yeah, there's certainly, of course, some homes that that were foreclosed upon that were then, snatched up by LLCs, but the vast majority of flips that I'm finding are from, it looks like, families and individuals, and then the LLC is just a middle agent between another family or individual. And I mean, some of these flips really, they are flipping them for anywhere from 100K to 500K more within, less than a year's time.
When Robert, I'm gonna drop in the chat. There's a report that Center for New York City Neighborhoods did around the connection of the foreclosure crisis and flipping, and it has some information on that to answer that question. And then the second question of what did the homes look like before they were bought by the LLCs? There, you can see in the slideshow that Katie gave, there are some, if you can remember the house in Bushwick that had that kind of, they call it flipped gray. I guess that's like a thing. A lot of these speculators will do these kind of artificial repairs and they'll paint them in this kind of like slate gray that seems to be popular. But a lot of the homes look exactly like they did before they were flipped, because a lot of the repairs, as Katie was saying, are these very kind of artificial repairs. So I want to say the reason why we're really, excited and happy to be here is that we really need to build with you all. We really need to build with the Bronx, and come, unite as different boroughs to go after speculation. And so part of the reason why we're here tonight is to say, the representatives in your district, Assemblymember Hasty, Assemblymember Benedito, and Senator Biaggi are currently not co-sponsors of this bill. And so we want to get your reps behind this bill. And we want to invite you all to join us. We have weekly meetings, Mondays at 2:30 in the afternoon. And I also want to give a shout out to Heru Smith, who's here from the coalition, who's part of our Housing Justice Committee, and invite you all to join us on these weekly meetings that we have every Monday at 2:30. And that is where we talk about what legislators we're going to be meeting with next and to strategize around getting this bill passed. So I'll send, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat, and we invite you all to get involved. And then what you can do right now is you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm going to put our information here in the chat, and please follow us and learn about events that we're having in regards to going after speculation here in Brooklyn. So Robert, Hazel, Heru, would you join us? Rich, would you all join us in getting this legislation passed?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll do my very best to get the word out there. We do have a very good relationship with Senator Biaggi. Carl Hastings, yeah, we know who he is. We kind of beat up on him a little bit in 2019, but I'm sure that once he finds out that this is happening in his district, he might want to get involved. I can't, say for sure, but I will definitely get the information to all of them. So yeah, you have my commitment.
I'm going to say no because what's happening here in Community Board 11 and 10, okay, on Crosby Avenue, you have a house with a large driveway and backyard that's being converted into an 8-story building. Molnar Avenue, Hazel, we have a one-family home that's being converted into a 6-story building or a 7-story building. That's the problem we're having here in the Bronx. The Northwest Bronx has gone through it. Bedford Park, Norwood, Kingsbridge, and even Riverdale, where houses with lots of yard space or corner houses that have property on both sides, they're being bought up and apartment buildings are being built there. It's not that they're flipping the houses, they're building apartment buildings. So how do you fight that? And it's all within the MI8CQH rules, MI8CQA rather.
That's
I'm
the, yeah, go ahead, Al.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's also another fight that we're having out here in East New York, Brooklyn. I don't know if you're familiar with Nehemiah Housing, which is predominantly either one family or two family, and it's the same situation that's occurring. They target the they target the corner properties, and then they build up for apartment buildings, ignoring the landscape of that. And I know for a fact that I know we're partnering up with Brownsville Nehemiah Homes, the homeowners association, to address that issue. And one of the things that we were trying to fight on is like why we haven't introduced downsizing along those Nehemiah homes, which was originally built for true deep affordable home ownership opportunities. And the question I would have to ask, I'm not familiar with the territory, Robert, is what is it zoned for? And clearly, if they building up higher, if it's not complementary to the existing housing stock, the initial push that we're going to be going for the Nehemiah homes is the downsizing effort. If you're folks constantly focus on the upzone, but if it's a community and it's predominantly one family, and then you have this one outlier, and the reason why they can build it is because of the zoning. What would happen if the community come together and say, no, we want it down zone, and it must reflect the same floors for the existing community? Because the only way folks can build up higher than the existing stock is based off the zoning. And it's so ironic what's happening in communities of color in East New York, Brooklyn, is clearly happening in communities of color in the Bronx. And when I heard that, I said, whoa, it's happening there as well. So
yeah, it's definitely happening here. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it definitely is. On my block alone, they're building they're building two maybe 4-story buildings right now. Unfortunately, we have mixed housing here, so it's not a zoning thing. Because I happen to live in a 20 floor building, and then across the street, we've got 1 and 2 family homes. So zoning is not an issue. They can build whatever they want, unfortunately. But right now, we have okay, somebody's not. So we have tenants that are paying over $2,000 for maybe a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. So what we're going to be pushing is trying to get them to go. I really don't want them to leave, but for that amount of money, you could be paying a mortgage. So if this is going to be happening in my neighborhood, then my tenants aren't going to be able to afford to buy any homes because of this flipping going on. And then of course, these buildings that they're building are supposed to be affordable, but they're not affordable to us. So who knows what's going to be, what's coming into the neighborhood now. And we don't need gentrification here. You know, we have a nice, diverse neighborhood, and we want to keep it that way. We don't have the same crime that a lot of the other areas in the Bronx have. We have people here from all over the world. Everybody gets along, and that's exactly how we want to keep it. But I do also want to encourage my tenants. You know, if you're paying that much money, go buy yourself a house. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave the Bronx, but you know, be real, especially, you know, our younger tenants who, you know, who have, you know, who are thinking about having families. So it is an issue that we all need to address.
You hit the nail. You hit the nail on the head, Hazel. Because in East New York, there's a particular property currently for sale, and the sale price is $999,000, and this is like a one family or two family. And then folks had to ask themselves questions. Folks that works for the city, working class folks, what would a mortgage payment look like with my salary on a $1 million home, right there being priced out? Or if they even is lucky to get a mortgage for $1 million on a city salary, and it's a two family, what will that rental? They'll be forced to charge very unaffordable rent. So, and that's what I mean by the barriers of entry. And it's so ironic once you mentioned that it's happening predominantly, from what I'm seeing, in communities of color. And that's why I have to reinforce, we just need some legislative tools in our tool belt, so to speak, so that way we can try to combat the speculation and the flipping, so we can, let's catch our breath and figure this thing out. Because if you're
Yeah.
on the city, I'm just trying to figure it out. $1 million mortgage. What is that on a monthly basis? It's unfathomable. And you work
Yeah,
so
we
hard.
just a house right next, like two houses down from the office, sold for that much money. 999.99, whatever. And it's like I think it's been vacant for a while, and it's like a four-family home. It's beautiful, brick and everything. Today we just realized that they're tearing it down. So it broke my heart because it's such a beautiful house. But they can easily build a six-story building there. And I'm pretty sure that for the money that they paid, the rents are going to be unaffordable.
Exactly.
If I could, sorry, you go, Al.
No. Go ahead, Katie.
I was just going to jump in and just agree with what everyone's saying, and also bring it back to something you were saying before, Robert, which is, you know, after the financial crisis, a lot of these investment firms, the data shows, started investing in apartment buildings rather than small homes. And so I think when we see these blocks being built up with new apartment buildings, this is part of their strategy of extracting wealth from communities. They've just shifted their focus, and now they're going to extract wealth from renters. And so that's part and parcel of the same investment strategy that we've seen transforming neighborhoods and making them unaffordable for the people who have lived here for decades.
One of the problems we have in the Bronx with affordable housing is that the census tracts are used, and these census tracts go up into the wealthier part of Westchester, so it raises up that affordable price of the affordable rent. Okay, and we've had meetings at the borough president's office years ago when MICQA came in, and there were demonstrations that these affordable rents aren't affordable. They're for people who are making $2,500 to $5,000 a month. Okay, where the average Bronxite makes maybe under 2,000.
You hit the nail on the head again, because sometimes I would have to think, what would the AMI, the average median income, look like if it was just the 5 boroughs and it excluded the Westchester and the other affluent areas? What those numbers would actually look like along those lines. So you are absolutely correct. And the thing is, AMI, the average median income, is dictated by the legislation, and I believe that's on a federal level, on the federal formula. And that's another portion where we have to engage federal leaders, individuals from the Bronx, because Robert, you could go to whoever is the Bronx, whoever your Bronx congressperson is or U.S. senator is, and say you have to take another look of this AMI model. It is currently destabilizing our community. It's not helping our communities. It's making folks leaving from point A to point B, and then you see a total transient community, and then you'll see a more increase in the shelter industrial complex. So it gets kind of, you see the trend all the way around. But you brought up some great points along those lines, Robert. You're absolutely correct.
If I can share my screen, I'm going to share with you all where the flipping, this data is a little old, so it's like from 2018, but you can see where it's happening in the Bronx. So I'll just share really quick. And then I'll also put this report into the chat. So here you see, this is the area in the Bronx where it's happening the most. So it is really Bronx Community Board 12. And then this was actually from 2016, 2017 data. So there you go. And I'm going to share that and put that in the chat.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense because there's they're not as mixed as we are here in Board 11, and then they're on the border of Mount Vernon and Yonkers and New Rochelle, and so yeah, that makes sense. And when I first heard about this, that was the community that I was thinking about because they're homeowners, but they're all working class homeowners up there. And unfortunately they're being targeted. And so we definitely have to do something. Yeah.
Wait, Al, you're on.
When you update that, you'll find that Community Board 7 is now the target area, or it has been. Community Board 7, almost all the private homes are gone, and they've been turned into apartment buildings because they're right by the 4 train and the D train on the concourse.
Yeah, they usually target the transit rich corridors for the initial spark, and then work themselves inward. So I definitely want to look into that. Community Board 7, you said, Robert? You said Community Board 7,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Oh.
Because you don't need parking in a transit zone, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So Hazel, thank you so much for allowing us to join. Is there any other questions before we move on?
Robert, anything else? Kay, do you have anything? Guess not. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And Community Board 11, and we definitely will be following up with you and supporting the efforts to try to get this legislation passed. Thank you again.
Yeah. I would appreciate you guys sending me whatever you have in writing so that I can forward it to whoever it is I need to forward it to. I know, Alexa, I know you sent me stuff before. You can send whatever you have, just send it my way.
Yes, definitely. And just want to thank Hiru and Curtis, who joined from East New York.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me join in.
Okay.
Have a good night.
All right. So I don't have any old business and I don't think there's any new business. So I think I'm just gonna adjourn.
Okay.
All right. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you coming.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Okay, we'll be in touch, Hazel. Bye.
All right, great. So the meeting has adjourned at 7:19.